Even the guards avoided looking prisoners in the eyes, not out of mercy, but fear. They said something changed in them the moment the gates closed. The Tower of London was never built to hold prisoners. Its purpose was different. People were not sent here to serve a sentence. They were sent to be removed from it. No public record confirmed their arrival. In some cases, no record existed at all. This was not an error. It was intentional. Crossing into the tower meant losing any connection to the outside world. Legal status ended. Identity followed. There was no defined outcome, no clear process, no guarantee of return. And the real question was never how long they would remain inside, but whether their existence would leave any trace at all. They did not arrive through the main gates. They came from the river. A narrow boat moved slowly along the dark water. No voices, no commands, only the sound of wood against the current. The city remained close, yet completely unreachable. Windows, lights, distant movement, all visible, none accessible. The entrance was low, almost hidden at water level, known as Traitor's Gate. There were no crowds, no witnesses, no record of who passed beneath it. Once inside, the river closed behind them, and with it, any chance of being seen again. No announcement marked the moment. No voice confirmed it. The gate moved slowly, iron grinding against stone, heavy and deliberate. The sound carried through the walls, low, uneven, impossible to ignore. It did not echo like an ordinary door. It lingered. For those inside, it became the only reference point, the last clear boundary between before and after. Once it settled into place, the space changed. Air felt tighter. Movement slowed. Even breathing seemed louder than it should be. Nothing visible had happened, yet everything was different. And from that moment on, there was no clear sense of direction, only depth. No announcement marked the moment. No voice confirmed it. The gate moved slowly, iron grinding against stone, heavy and deliberate. The sound carried through the walls, low, uneven, impossible to ignore. It did not echo like an ordinary door. It lingered. For those inside, it became the only reference point, the last clear boundary between before and after. Once it settled into place, the space changed. Air felt tighter. Movement slowed. Even breathing seemed louder than it should be. Nothing visible had happened, yet everything was different. And from that moment on, there was no clear sense of direction, only depth. Nothing was explained. No one said when it would begin. Footsteps passed somewhere beyond the walls, sometimes close, sometimes distant, never predictable. Keys turned in other doors. Chains shifted, then silence again. Each sound suggested movement, but never for them. The mind began to anticipate what had not yet happened, to prepare for something undefined. And in that state, uncertainty became more precise than any known threat, because what they imagined was always worse than what they understood. With no clear stimulus, the mind began to generate its own. Fragments of memory surfaced without order. Voices recalled from the past returned without context. Thoughts no longer followed a stable direction. They looped, repeated, shifted without control. Simple assumptions turned into fixed conclusions. Unverified ideas began to feel certain. There was no way to test what was real, no reference outside the mind itself. And gradually, the line between perception and invention began to dissolve. What remained was not confusion, but a new form of certainty, built entirely from within. The walls preserved what no record did. Lines cut into the stone appeared at different heights, irregular, uneven, not made by any tool. Some marks ran in short bursts, others continued for longer distances before stopping. In several places, the surface was worn down entirely, as if repeated contact had erased its original texture. There was no pattern that suggested design, no symmetry, no intention to communicate. Only pressure applied again and again, focused on a single point. And whatever created these marks had not been trying to leave a message, but to reach something beyond the surface. Those who worked inside the tower followed strict routines. Observation was part of their role. They noted changes that could not be measured directly. Posture, movement, response to simple instructions. Some prisoners avoided contact entirely. Others reacted too quickly, as if anticipating something unseen. Eye contact became inconsistent, either absent or held for too long without expression. Reports mentioned hesitation among the guards themselves. Not refusal, but delay. Instructions were carried out, yet distance was maintained whenever possible. Because over time, it became difficult to determine who was observing and who was being observed. By the time the door opened, the outcome was often already determined. No visible force had been applied. No direct confrontation had taken place. Yet responses came quickly. Answers were given without resistance. Some spoke before being asked. Others complied with instructions immediately, without clarification. There was little need to repeat questions, little need to escalate. What appeared as cooperation was not the result of pressure in that moment, but of a process completed earlier. The interrogation did not begin the change. It revealed it. There was no single method that explained the effect. No visible system that could be pointed to directly. Instead, it was built from small, consistent conditions, each one insignificant on its own. Controlled space, restricted information, limited interaction, nothing extreme, nothing that would stand out if observed briefly. But sustained over time, these conditions began to align. They reduced external input while increasing internal pressure. No single element caused the change. The structure did. And once established, it required almost no adjustment to continue working. At a certain point, identification with the outside world began to weaken. Names lost their function. Past roles no longer provided structure. There was less reference to previous identity and fewer attempts to maintain it. Speech became more neutral. Responses shorter, less defined. Personal distinctions started to fade. Differences between individuals became less visible. What remained was a simplified version of presence, responsive, but detached from prior context. The system did not need to remove identity directly. It reduced the conditions required to sustain it. And once those conditions were gone, continuity could not be maintained. Taken separately, none of these elements appeared decisive. A controlled space, limited input, gradual behavioral change, each could be explained on its own. But combined, they formed a consistent pattern, one that did not rely on force, yet produced the same result. The tower did not begin with physical pressure. It prepared for it. By the time any direct method was applied, the process had already reached its conclusion. This is why resistance was rare, why responses came without delay, and why even those who worked inside kept their distance. Because what the tower created was not submission, but a state in which opposition no longer formed.